So this is an example of a user flow. So essentially it's a step-by-step process of how someone moves through a task on a screen. So each sort of sketch is one screen along the way in the process. It highlights what's on each screen or what's being gathered, and then where the interaction points are. So I'm going to touch this button and that's going to take me to this screen. And so it sort of walks you through how to get from start to finish. It's important so that you understand what's involved in each step of the experience. You can figure out how many steps are required, whether it's easy to navigate. So for instance, in this example, we've got continue buttons always sort of down in the bottom right corner. So like sort of there's a consistency to that experience. So there's a bunch of different ways to sort of approach the idea of user flow. Essentially, anything that captures the stages along the process and kind of what the transition points are is a user flow. They can go from super basic diagram to like sort of a rough sketch of the screens along the way to something that's a little bit more like clear in terms of exactly what information's on each screen and whatever. With user flows, you've normally got a pretty good idea of what the concept is, and this is when you're fleshing it out. So what you're going to start with, you've got your problem that you're trying to solve. We've sort of decided how we're going to do that, like where it's happening and on what devices, in which environments. You're basically just going to draw each stage. There's a welcome screen. In our case, it's on a tablet. If it was on a desktop, you'd have a desktop. Or if you're just trying to nut out the stages, it could just be a diagram. But I've got a welcome. I'm starting the process. I'm capturing details, so that's another step. And here's a screen or a square in the diagram, however you want to do it. And you're just literally going to go, all right, once I've got details, the next step is to choose a payment option. How long am I going to choose this for? And then the next step is to go pay, enter details, capture that kind of stuff. So it's literally just step one, what am I capturing? What does that look like? Where do I move on? Cool, continue. And that's going to take me to step 2. It's going to take me to step 3. This might be something that you start with on a sketch and a piece of paper. Particularly designers are normally more interested in the way that it looks and the way that it walks people through a process. Tech people are more interested in what's being captured and that kind of stuff. So really sort of figure out who it's for and then just do the quickest and easiest version that's going to get you there. So this is normally something that gets a lot of versions. You'll do your first version of like what you think is involved, and then as a project evolves, sometimes you find, oh, legally we have to show this here, or there has to be another step here. So it gets drafted a lot. It's normally sort of like a shared document that displays all the stages along a path and how we're looking to do that at the moment. So from a design perspective, we're normally trying to make it short and sweet and not keep people kind of hanging around for too long. It's a nice way to kind of illustrate how many steps people are trying to add and go like, guys, can we do this in one step rather than 3? And those kind of conversations. Crazy 8s gets us a lot of ideas really quickly, so it's a lot of different approaches of how we might solve the problem. If you sort of compare that to a storyboard takes a specific approach and maps out the stages. How would that look like if we were to do it this way? What would that look like for a customer, and what would be the steps involved? And then a user flow goes to the level of, all right, so if we're facilitating this with an app, what does it look like on the app? What are the screens that people are going to go through? What are the stages? So it just goes step by step through that artifact.